Hi, and welcome to Ukulele Lessons Easy 1B. Today we're going to be talking about the first about 6 pages of the music book. I'm going to explain the music book. We're going to talk about how to hold the ukulele and about tweaking the ukulele. Now, for those of you who have already taken my previous course, either in person or online, you probably are going to know all this stuff that I'm going to talk about. You're more than welcome to listen on the tutorial, but if you want to skip ahead and jump on to the next tutorial, by all means you can do that. For you folks that are seeing or doing this course for the very first time, meaning this is the first time you're doing a course with me, I suggest you just follow along for now so we can go over these basics and get established on these things that we need to know. Okay, first of all, you want to grab that the music book, Fun with Ukulele by Mel Bay. At this time, at any time that you need a little additional time, go ahead and pause the tutorial, get whatever it is that you need, and come on back. So other than that, I'll just proceed along. Okay, we're going to start with page 2. On page 2, at the top of the page, you see like a piano, and then you see like a little fretboard over here, some notes corresponding to the piano. You'll notice that the open strings, these are the open strings of the ukulele, which are G, C, E, A, correspond to the notes on the piano over there. If you have a piano at home, you can also tune your ukulele by playing the notes that correspond to the open strings of the ukulele. Okay? Now, if you notice just below that, you see a musical staff. These are the musical notations for the open strings on the ukulele. If you take note, you will see this musical staff at the top of almost every page of your syllabus. I'm gonna suggest that you start to look at it, familiarize yourself, even start to memorize where the notes are on either what line or what space. And the more that you can memorize where these notes are and understand them, their locations on the musical staff, the musical notations, the more well prepared you'll be when you decide to go into ukulele 2. Okay? Over here you have another musical staff, and you have the wording, "My dog has fleas." My dog has fleas, and the same musical notation for the open strings of the ukulele. And then what that is a way of tuning the ukulele by ear. Okay, so here's the open strings for the ukulele. Okay, and what that is just tuning it by ear. So you're using that wording, "My dog has fleas." So that's how you would tune it by ear. My dog has fleas. My dog has fleas. And that's another way to tune if you don't have a tuner with you when you are tuning your ukulele. On page 3, you see a guy holding ukulele? Well, we're going to talk about how to hold ukulele. So, what you want to do is you want to use your forearm to kind of hold the ukulele or comfortably rest the ukulele in that forearm. So I've chosen this section of my forearm, and let your hand come on down. Your finger points to you. See my finger pointing to me? And as the finger comes down, you're landing somewhere on the fretboard. Somewhere on the fretboard. You don't want to be over a hole. You don't want to be too far up here. You want to be somewhere in here. Okay? So you want to, once again, forearm to the bottom of the ukulele, coming on down, just like how a needle or stylus hits a record on a record player. This is, by the way, an old style of listening to music. You had records that were on vinyl a long time ago, and the needle came down on the record. So you want that finger to come on down, face you, and that is kind of going to be your strum zone. And we'll talk about that more later on. And the whole idea is to find a strum zone right now in about 3 frets. Okay, as long as you can be within that 3 frets, that'll be great. We're going to discuss that more in another tutorial, so don't worry about that. The main thing is that you understand that it's comfortable to hold the ukulele and how to hold ukulele. Okay? Now, as we proceed on through the music book, you're going to see at the bottom of page number 3, there's a guy holding a pick. Well, we don't use a pick in this class, so you can disregard that unless you want to go searching on YouTube and find out guys who play with picks. Okay, on page number 4, you see a left hand, and you see the numbers associated with the fingers 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, these fingers are corresponding to the chord that you're going to make. So the number indicates what fingers are going to be used to hold down the chord or make the chord when you see a musical chord diagram. Bottom of page, kind of how it looks when you hold the ukulele from the back. Next page over here, you see a fretboard. Okay, remember the word fret. That's the word that we want to remember the most out of everything we do here. And once again, you see the notes at the top of the strings G, C, E, A. Okay, those are the open strings for the ukulele. Okay, we're going to turn on to page. Actually, we're going to pause here for a second. I'm going to show you the parts of the ukulele so that we can learn the terminology as we discuss it. Okay, first of all, this up here is the head of the ukulele. All right. This section over here is the neck of the ukulele. These little metal lines, they're the frets. All these little metal pieces coming down the neck are frets. This is the body of the ukulele, soundboard, sound hole. This over here is the saddle. This over here, right here, is your bridge. Back of the ukulele, bottom of the ukulele. Once again, the word that you want to remember most of all during the course is frets. F-R-E-T, frets. And those are the metal lines that separate the neck. Okay? Looking at the bottom of page 5, you see a guy holding a pick. Once again, we're not going to use a pick in this course. And then, as you see over here, there's a guy holding the ukulele with the 3rd finger, and he's making a C chord. Now notice we talked about fingers corresponding to numbers. Here you go to 3rd finger, that's a ring finger, 3rd finger, and 3rd, number 3, C chord. So he's using his 3rd finger to form that C chord, and notice where it's located on the fretboard, right there. Okay, so that's what you got to get used to and understand for that, seeing a chord diagram. Okay, next on page 7, at the top there, you see it says 4/4 or C equals common time. Common time is your most used musical time signature, and the 4/4 means that there are 4 beats per measure, and each beat is a quarter note. Okay, and you can see here you have the 4/4, you have the C above it, you have 4 strokes per measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have C above it. Going on down, you have 3/4. 3/4 means 3 notes per measure, and each note is a quarter note. You're going to learn more of this stuff in ukulele too. Okay, so we're just kind of introducing this to you now. And here you see 3/4 at the beginning. You see 3 strums or 3 strokes or 3 beats per measure. Another 3, another 3, another 3, etc. And then you go on down, you can see another example. Okay, so that was to get you introduced to the ukulele for the musical book. Okay, we showed you how to hold the ukulele. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about tweaking the ukulele. If you've taken my previous ukulele class, I normally help the students in tweaking their ukulele. I find that a lot of students who are learning beginning ukulele, you buy or you get like a brand new ukulele, and a lot of times the strings are brand new, so they're stretching, and a lot of times the tuning keys, tuning pegs, aren't tightened all the way because maybe in the factory they just weren't tightened all the way. So let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. These are the tuning keys, okay? These tuning keys or tuning pegs are used to tune the strings. If you notice on this one here, they have screws at the end, okay? See? They have screws at the end. And this screw, or screws, use a regular screwdriver. The regular screwdriver, you would just turn the screw and then pick up the slack. So in other words, you're not tightening the screw a whole lot or too much. You don't want to do that. You just want to pick up the slack, make it tight enough where it's a little firm. You can tune easily, and that keeps the string or the tuning key from slipping as you tune, or the string gets a little stretched out. Okay. Now keep in mind, depending on what kind of screw it has, will depend on what kind of screwdriver you use. For instance, this takes a regular screwdriver. Some others may have a screw that you have to use a Phillips screwdriver. So depending on what you need is what you will use. Now, some ukuleles have this encasing. If you notice, there's no screws over here. It's encased, and you can't get to it. Okay, as you can see, you can't get to it. You can't open it. Okay, normally they say that this kind of tuning keys are better than the ones with the screws. Usually that's the case, but not always. The bottom line, the point I'm trying to get is this: if you have these tuning keys, you can't do anything. It is what it is, and this is how it's going to be. You can't tweak it. This is what it is. Okay, so let's say you have a brand new ukulele, and you're having problems tuning. Well, a lot of times you want to stretch the strings. Okay, so when you stretch the strings, you just take the string and stretch it. So I'm just pulling on it a little bit, stretching it. It's just another way of stretching it. Pulling it over here with this side, stretching it. So you're stretching the strings. Okay, and that's what you want to do with all the strings. Kind of get them stretched out a little bit. You don't want to yank on it really hard. Just stretch it. Just I'm holding the strings down with this hand. I'm just kind of tugging on it a little, stretching it. Okay, just stretching the strings, pulling it a little bit. Now, a lot of times in the beginning, this is the biggest problem that my students have, is that tuning the ukulele can be difficult, and they have a hard time because they're tuning for the first time. Now, this is what I strongly suggest, and in fact, all of my previous students already know this. But when what you need to do is you need to tune the ukulele every day, several times a day, and get used to how your ukulele sounds when it's tuned. Now, the biggest advantage to tuning your ukulele several times a day is that it's always close to its original tune or key of tune. So every day you tune it several times, it's going to be pretty close to this. Now, the less you tune it, the more out of tune it's going to be, especially if it's a brand new ukulele where the strings are not stretched out, and it's going to be very difficult to tune it once you get to that point. So this is what you want to do to minimize your difficulties in tuning. I would suggest this: if you're having difficulty tuning the ukulele, take your ukulele back to your store, talk to your salesman, have them tune it up. It's not going to cost you anything because it's only going to take him like 5, 10, maybe 15 seconds, and then from that point on, you just do, like I said, tweak the ukulele if you can by tightening the screws, and then stretching the strings, and then tuning your ukulele right after that, and several times a day, every day. The more you tune it, the more it's going to stay in tune. The more you tune it, the better it's going to be for your ukulele, for you, for listening to how it sounds. But that's the trick. Tune it every day, several times a day. Eventually, you won't have to tune it every day, okay? Because the strings will start to settle in and they won't require that much tuning. In an upcoming video, I'm going to show you how to tune the ukulele, how to use a tuner, explain more about that. But that's one of the problems that I hear a lot, and can be difficult and can be frustrating because your ukulele, when it's not in tune, it doesn't sound right when you play with the tutorials, or maybe it doesn't sound right to you. Okay, so that's how to fix that. Please take care of that as soon as possible. And once again, you definitely want to, your biggest homework always is to tune your ukulele several times a day for a long time. And then once you notice that your ukulele is barely going out of tune, boy, then you're kind of done with that homework. And you can basically just tune it up when it's time to play. Okay, so when you're ready to move on to the next tutorial, we'll see you then.